Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. It's time now for the War on Gaza report. That's right. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we cover Israel's ongoing, unrelenting war, not in Gaza, but on Gaza. And tonight we have reached day 331. And as always, we wanted to give you a brief update on what's going on in the Gaza Strip and really around Palestine. Tonight's report will be relatively short, but we wanted to make sure we keep caught up with you with something. Also, make sure you check out tonight's episode of Office Hours, where we did a deep dive with Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, who talked about the origins of Zionism and offered really a radically different take on the origins of Zionism, the purpose of Zionism, and the legitimacy of Zionism. So make sure you check that out here on the channel. But let's start with the War on Gaza report in a place that we always start, and that is with the numbers. As of right now, the official death toll has reached 40,738. Again, 40,738 people have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. That's in addition to the 94,154 people who have been wounded in Israel's war on Gaza. Just against the backdrop, 1,139 people, of course, were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led attacks on October 7th, in addition to hundreds who were kidnapped. The numbers are high. They're escalating at really an unprecedented pace. And on top of that, they are incredibly conservative numbers. They are incredibly conservative numbers, meaning that there are more than 10,000 people who are under the rubble right now who have not been officially registered with the Gaza Health Ministry. This also means that I'm getting my audio because someone just said there's an audio issue. Let's try something else. I'll try something else in a moment, but we'll work on it, y'all. I apologize. But the numbers are low because of the 10,000 people who landed the rubble. Also, as we've seen with the Lancet report and others, we're not even counting the people who have been killed because of damage, violence, destruction, etc., that has happened since October 7th. So this is just people who are directly killed, directly executed. The numbers, when you look at that, become in the tens of thousands more, if not the hundreds of thousands total. So we want to make sure that we keep track of that as we talk about this vicious war on the Gaza Strip. Let's talk about the Gaza Strip more broadly. Israeli forces have continued to be unrelenting in their attack. Dozens of Palestinians have been killed in northern Gaza in the last 24 hours. Dozens, including 11 people who were sheltering at a school in northern Gaza City. Again, sheltering at a school in northern Gaza City. As we've seen repeatedly, the school and the school building in the context of Gaza does not represent a space of safety, does not represent a place of learning. It is marked as a site of violence, therefore a potential violence, and as an incubator for terrorism. And so even when you see the innocent resting in a church or a mosque or a school, what you don't see is an effort to view those people as off limits. We also saw 4 people traveling in a car in central Deir el-Belah. And though they were traveling in a car, it doesn't matter whether you're on a humanitarian route, whether you're being redirected, none of it matters. If you're outside, if you're Palestinian and outside, you are vulnerable. I want to talk also about the hundreds of thousands of Israelis who took to the streets of Tel Aviv, as well as other cities in Israel today, demanding a ceasefire deal after the bodies of 6 more captives were recovered from Gaza. The country at this point is set for a general strike. I want to talk about this for a couple of reasons. But the big thing here is that there's a mass protest in Israel by Israeli civil society. And if you remember, and it's important to remember, before October 7th, Israeli civil society was engaged in mass protests. They were very concerned outraged even with Benjamin Netanyahu's attempt to basically commandeer or co-opt the judicial branch of government by absorbing it into the executive branch effectively. And they were marching in the streets of Tel Aviv. They were marching in the streets of West Jerusalem. They were marching in all these places, attempting to oust Netanyahu and fight for what they call a democratic Israel. It's important to always remember, though, that even when the streets of Israel are flooded with calls for democracy and justice, this is still a call for liberal Zionism. This is not a call for democracy. This is not a call to give Palestinians equal rights, equal freedoms, equal access, safety, dignity, self-determination, or even just justice. No, this is an attempt to have a liberal democratic ethno state where the democratic principles and processes are there for everyone who owns the national identity of Jew. So it becomes still an ethno state or a state of superiority. What we want is a state. And when I say we, I mean everyone in the world who loves justice. What we want is a state where everyone is equal, whether you're Jewish or not. Everyone has access to freedom, safety, dignity, and self-determination, whether you're Jewish or not. Jews should not have fewer rights and freedoms, but they should have more rights and freedoms than everyone else. Everyone should have access to the same vision of equality and citizenship. That's the point. But too often, the people marching in the streets who would have you think that Israel is a bastion of liberal democracy just waiting for Netanyahu to leave, those people don't support a one-state solution. Those people don't support reforming Israeli laws in ways that accommodate Palestinians. These people don't want Israeli troops to exit the West Bank or East Jerusalem or the borders of Gaza or the Sinai or the Golan. I just want to be very clear when we talk about the general strike that's about to happen now. It's the same people. And it's not an unimportant strike. They're going to shut down the airport. They're going to involve the health sector. They're going to basically stop labor in all these key areas to force the Israeli government to be accountable. The problem is Netanyahu ain't going to listen. Netanyahu ultimately knows that he only stays in power if he is at war. Because the moment he's not at war, he's disposable. The moment he's disposable, he's going. And when he's going to jail. There's a really good chance of that. And so between his own personal interests and the pull from people like Yoav Gallant and Bezalel Smotrich, you're not going to see Netanyahu move to the center. He's going to move further and further to the right. And that's what's happening right now. So Israel is preparing for mass protests. It's preparing to fight for a ceasefire to return the hostages, but it's absolutely not doing so in the interest of Palestinian people. We got to be honest and clear about that. But in terms of the people who are supporting the strike, just so you know who in Israeli civil society is supporting it, of course, it's Histadrut, which is Israel's biggest labor union. They called for the strike starting at 6 a.m. The Times of Israel and Reuters are both reporting that others who are backing the stoppage are the Israel Business Forum, which represents most private sector workers from 200 of the country's largest companies. Companies from Israel's tech sector, Wix, Fiverr, Honeybook, Playtika, Riskified, AppsFlyer, Monday.com, AI21 Labs, and Lemonade. By the way, I didn't know Fiverr was from Israel's tech sector. That's good to know. Workers at Ben Gurion Airport, as I mentioned, the Israel Bar Association, whose chief Amit Becher called on all lawyers to go on strike. The teachers union, a branch of his, said all K-12 schools in Israel will only be open until 11:45 a.m., except for special needs students in those schools. The Association of University Heads, Tel Aviv's municipality, the Manufacturers Association of Israel, and Israeli opposition leader and former Prime Minister Yair Lapid, who called for the economy to be shut down to pressure, quote, Netanyahu and the death cabinet, end quote. So all of this is happening at the same time. And of course, the push for this is going to be intensified when you have moments like this weekend where we saw the funeral for Israelis who died, such as Eden Yerushalmi, all of this is part of the context. Before we go, though, I want to talk about another important piece here, which is the continued raids on the West Bank. Right now, the death toll from Israel's large-scale raids rose to 26 as the Israeli siege on the Jenin refugee camp entered a sixth day, which left Palestinians without access to food, water, power, or internet. And again, this is the biggest West Bank raid in over 20 years. Now, the argument for desecrating sacred landmarks and destroying land and killing tens of thousands of people in Gaza is Hamas, 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 Hamas. That's always the argument. But Hamas, but Hamas, but Hamas. But how do you justify? How do you justify if you are the Israeli military? How do you justify raiding the West Bank? How do you justify in raiding these refugee camps? How do you justify the extraordinary harm and violence that you're causing people in the refugee camps of Jenin, or by the way, these aren't settlers, because settler raids have been big in the West Bank forever. This is Israeli sanctioned military forces and police that are doing this, and there's no Hamas there. So while you can justify, or you attempt to justify the genocide in Gaza by saying, but Hamas, what are you going to say in the West Bank? What are you saying in East Jerusalem? It is very clear. It is very clear, very clear. And it's never been unclear, but it is indisputably clear now that the goal here is singular, and that is the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. All of it. This is not about terrorism. This is not about safety. This is about ethnic cleansing and genocide, and not just in Gaza, but throughout the West Bank. Everywhere where there are Palestinians, this vicious right-wing project wants there to be no Palestinians. And let me be clear one more time. When I say this vicious right-wing project, I'm not talking about the Netanyahu administration, because that would make you think that Israel was a liberal democracy that was safe and secure and imperfect but good up until the moment Netanyahu took over, or until he got dragged to the right. But no, Israel as it is designed, as it is constructed, is an ethno-state. Israel as it is designed privileges the rights of some over others. Israel as it is designed is an apartheid society. And this is the inevitable outgrowth of an apartheid society organized around settler colonial logics. And that's why we are where we are. That's why we are where we are. Anyway, y'all, we're going to stop there for now. But tomorrow we're back with much more on the War on Gaza report. We give you a much more in-depth one. We'll get into some of the details, some of the latest legislation going on both in Israel and abroad that has continued to reinforce this vicious war. We'll cover all of it, and we'll give you the latest. In addition, we'll be covering a lot of other stuff on Night School. Make sure you check us out tomorrow night on Night School. If you like the War on Gaza report and you want more of the War on Gaza report, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, family, if you're not a member of the channel, consider joining and becoming a member of the channel, because no other mainstream or unmainstream, non-mainstream media outlet is going to give you a War on Gaza report like this. But we do it because we know it matters. But we are powered by the people. So hit that join button. And if you can't hit the join button, I hit the wrong button right there. Forgive me, family. If you can't hit the join button, hit the buttons here to make a one-time commitment. Go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Drop what you can. If you give $1, we're grateful. If you give $1 million, we're grateful. Anything in the middle, we're grateful. We just want an opportunity to have financial stability as we build this media company, as we build this grassroots media platform. So thank you for watching. Please keep watching, and we'll talk to you soon. In fact, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.